Hey everybody, welcome to the magnificent Blackmore Ranch here in Southern California. Today we've been riding around, just around the hills of Lake Elsinore really, on this thing. This is the brand new 2021 Honda Rebel 1100. Honda's been really encouraged by the sales success of the 500, especially the Rebel 500 has proven to be a real hit for those guys. So they thought, well, we may as well start really going after the cruiser market, sort of the custom cruiser market as well here in the States. So this 1100 is going to go up against things like the Indian Scout, maybe your Harley Iron 1200, for example. There's two versions. You get the DCT version, which is what we've been riding today, and you get the standard version with manual gearbox. The DCT version, this one comes in at $9,999 MSRP, whereas the manual is $9,299. So under 10K, and you get yourself, an automatic, if you like. It's not actually auto. You can run it on manual if you want. Right under the skin of the Rebel 1100 sits the same motor, the same parallel twin motor that you get in your Africa Twin. Now that came out last year. The Honda Africa Twins sort of expanded to, I think it's 1084cc now. This thing has a few different characteristics compared to what you get in the Africa Twin. It's got a 20% heavier flywheel, so you get a little, it's sort of, you can really feel that when, obviously when you're accelerating, but also when you're getting back on the brakes too, you get a bit more engine braking out of it. Also has different valve timing as well. As for electronics, you get 3 power modes, you get 3 traction control modes, you get 3 engine braking modes, plus, now this is the good bit, plus you get cruise control as standard fitment. The DCT comes with 3 modes, so you can have a mode that basically holds the gears for as long as you want. I mean, the thing will sit there and rev out like a sports bike, or you can conversely go back to the base model that has that will just, you'll go from first to 6th gear before you know it. You take off from the lights and before you know it, you're in 6th gear. So that's great for just your sort of general cruising and that. I, for the most part, was sitting around the middle of the middle of 3, so level 2. Found some interesting things with the DCT's operation. Now, I found that in the level 3, the DCT would hold on to gears for far too long. It wouldn't sit there, like, you know, when you rev a thing out and you want it to shift, you're like, all right, well, you just naturally click up a gear, you're like, all right, come on, shift. It would just sit there and hold the revs really high. So that was kind of weird. I was expecting it to go and change gears. You can change gears here. You got your paddle shifts, which you can do at any point, whether you're in manual or not. So you end up having to do the changes manually yourself, which is a bit annoying. Conversely, if you're in the middle level, which is where I spent most of my time, it wouldn't, especially when we're going up hills and we're kind of getting after it a bit, it wouldn't always be in the right gear. So you'd have to snap the throttle open and it'd kick back down a couple of gears and then go. But here's the interesting part, is that once it had figured that out, it's like, okay, the rider wants us to go, it would then almost default to the sport mode. So then it would start holding gears for longer than I wanted to. I was like, and had to sort of click back up the gears manually. And so it was kind of weird, really. Like it's still not quite there, I don't think, the DCT. It's 99% there. And for cruising around on the road, just easy riding, which, let's be honest, is kind of what this thing's all about, it's fair enough. But when you start to really push it, you will find that it's going to be better just to go old school. Just start just running with the paddles, doing them yourself. And it's kind of cool shifting with the paddles. If you've ever driven a car with paddle shifts, it's kind of like that. As you can see, it's a pretty low and lazy looking bike. 27.5 inches is the seat height. Now I wanted to show you guys something. Now I'm 6'1", 6'1". I find that the tank shape here isn't great. And I'll show you why. Like, I sit on this thing, right? And you can see, whoops, it's actually, yeah, before I forget, you got a handbrake there. If you don't have a handbrake there, you could be in trouble. You can see the tank cut out there. My knee sits right there, and it's kind of like, it's like putting your leg against like the door frame almost. And I found a couple of times when I'd hit bumps, I'd bounce off that. Luckily I've got padding on there, but it did hurt a little bit. I was like, man, that's not that comfortable. I feel like if Honda had just not included that cutout of the tank and just made the tank that followed that shape from there to there, it would have been a lot more comfortable for taller guys at least. If you're shorter than me, like if you're 5'10", or so, you shouldn't have any problems. But it was something that kind of stood out in the ride position for me. You can bank this thing over pretty high as well. Like when you're in corners, you can chuck the thing in real hard. It's over 30 degrees. I'm not exactly sure the total bank angle of it. But yeah, you can hustle this thing along pretty nicely. It's got a little 16-inch front wheel, so it turns in super quick. I think you can hustle them harder than what you would on something like an Iron 1200 or an Indian Scout for that matter. Yeah, it still feels very much like a Honda in that regard. Like you can get after them pretty well, and it's very well built, this thing. Like there's a lot of nice touches to it. They've managed to reduce all the bits and pieces here on the handlebars. Like if you've ever seen the Africa Twins, for example, there's just dials and switches everywhere, and it's quite overwhelming, to be honest. Whereas I find that they've done a better job neatening this whole thing up. All in all, like this is going to be a really good bike for guys and girls that want to get out there and just kind of cruise around and maybe think the 500 was a little bit too small for them. Being an 1100, it is quick, don't get me wrong, it is fast, but it's very docile in the power delivery, especially since they've made those changes to the flywheel and the timing. So you get a bit more punch off the bottom end than you would off an Africa Twin, but it kind of peters out a little bit, so it's designed to just torque you along from corner to corner. But yeah, it's a cool thing, and a great price, man. Under 10 G's for that, that's not bad. Honda's doing a big push now with their customizing side of things. They really want you to get out there and turn these things into your own. You know, they've got guys like Vance and Hines, for example. They're putting a whole bunch of stuff out there. There's guys behind us here, the Burley brand. You know, they've got a whole bunch of add-on parts for them. You can customize these things how you want. And it's going to be pretty rare that you ever see one of these things stock, I think. At least that's what Honda wants. But yeah, it's a cool thing. It's definitely got a place in the market, and this market's only going to get bigger as well. So I think Honda might just have hit the nail at the right time with the Rebel 1100. So yeah, good little bike.